So thank you, everyone. I hope everyone is well hydrated, nourished in all the ways possible to receive what we're about to receive from Rakhi. It's my great pleasure to introduce Rakhi Chari to our festival again this year. I introduced her last year, and since I can say that we've become friends, and also I just am very inspired by this woman and her journey. I know that she comes from a yoga background, and I know that her journey has been very beautiful and unique. And I know that she's going to share some wonderful information with us today. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Rakhi Chari. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. Is it okay, the volume? Yeah. Okay. Louder? Do I speak louder or are you going to make it louder? No, I lift this up a little. Okay. Is that better? No? Right in my face? Yeah? Can everyone hear me? All right, great. Well, I wanted to. Everyone can hear me? Yes, great. Okay. I wanted to, I'm completely honored to be here, and I want to thank Nicholas and Rafaela, and Morgan, and all the technical people behind the scenes that do such hard work, and also our interpreters. And I'm grateful to be here speaking to all of you wonderful people. It brings joy to my heart to be here to talk to you. And I'm going to start with my speech. This month will be a milestone for me. It'll be the completion of 5 years on my breatharian path. And during this time, I have chosen not to have any solid food. And I want to share what I have learned and the transformational growth this lifestyle has brought me. There are 5 things that I would like to share with everyone. So let's start from the beginning. When I went on my first breatharian retreat almost 5 years ago, I had no idea how it was going to change my life. The thought of going 3.5 days without food or water at the time seemed horrifying. I remember my son telling me, "Mommy, if you get thirsty, just drink some water." A part of me was scared, and I thought I was going to die. It turns out that my physical body was just fine, but something did die. It was my old beliefs that had passed. The old beliefs that humans cannot survive without food or water for 3.5 days. I gained tremendous respect, appreciation, and confidence in my body. It was the beginning of my physical and mental blocks crumbling, making way for a newfound lifestyle. As I continued on this path, it was not long before I became skin and bones, where I was horrified of looking at myself. I could not recognize myself. But then the weight stabilized, and I started working out and gaining my muscle back. As I continued on this path, I continued to detox my body. I used to have tremendous aches and pains in my knee, but that all went away. And I started running for the first time. I even participated in a couple of 10K runs. I came in 4th place on my first run. I worked my way up to doing a half marathon. In the past, this would have been something that I would never have even imagined in my wildest imagination. Because I had a lot of pain in my knee, but all that was gone. So I went from knee pain to skin and bones to running a half marathon. The physical blocks cleared as I cleaned up my diet. The number two thing I want to share is that as I continued, I realized that food can be a form of addiction. Most people hide behind food. If they get angry, they want to eat. If they're lonely, they want to eat. After coming on this path, I can no longer hide behind food. I can no longer mask the things in my life that weren't working out with food. I had to sit with my feelings, distract myself from food. I told myself no solid food for 1 year when I started this path. So not only was I dealing with a food addiction, but that addiction became a mental obsession. The only thing that I could think about was food. When I saw people eating, I was like, why can't I eat? And I would get really upset. When you're told that you can't have something, then you want it even more, especially food. All I was doing was thinking about food. Had it been another obsession, I could have used food to mask it. So how did I deal with my addiction and mental obsession with food? So I want to share 6 things that I did to help me deal with this. The number one thing that I did, or that I continued to do, was meditation and yoga. I did a variety of meditations. However, one of the meditations involved visualizing the energy coming into my body. This was all the prana coming into my body and nourishing me. And I told myself that I was taken care of. The number 2 thing that I did was I used chlorine dioxide, also known as MMS, if you guys don't know what it is. It has been a life changer. I found out about this in 2010, and I was using it since 2010. And this had made my transition from my regular life into the Pranic life a lot easier, because it took care of a lot of the detoxing you go through when you come on this path. So I continue to take it till this day as well. It helps in detoxing. It gets rid of heavy metals in your body. It gets rid of parasites. They say that when you crave a particular type of food, it is the parasites crying out for that food. Your parasites are, in a way, controlling what you crave. When I took MMS regularly, the cravings came down. And if you want to know more about it, there is some stuff online about this. But be careful because anything good for you, they'll find a way to demonize it. So, the number 3 thing that I did, I call it air feasting. Also known to many as dry fasting. I did air feasting. The reason why I like to call it air feasting is because it's abundance. Fasting is lack. So I wanted to be in abundance. So it's air feasting, feasting on air. And if you notice that the morning air is different and the afternoon air is different and the evening air is different, so you get a variety of air from morning to evening. Air feasting was a must for me on this path. It is what kept me on this path. So number 4 thing that I did was I surrounded myself with all things breatharian. I immersed myself in videos and books. It's almost like I had to brainwash myself that I could do this and it was possible. Because the outside world thought I had lost my mind and I was going crazy. So the only way for me to keep my sanity to continue on this path was to immerse myself in all things breatharian. So number 5 that I did to keep me on this path was I knew that I was in this for the long run. This was going to become my lifestyle. And I needed to get more grounded to continue on this path. What better thing to ground you than ground nut, also known as peanut? I cannot eat them solid, so I ground the ground nut and made it into peanut butter. If anyone has made peanut butter at home, you know that peanut butter turns into liquid. So during my travels, I was going through my travels and a TSA agent pulled me over and he removed my peanut butter from my bag. And he said this was liquid. Normally, I would be so upset, but it just made my day because he confirmed the peanut butter is liquid. So I began to realize that it's all about evolution and not revolution. I had to evolve into a pranic state, not fight myself into a pranic state. And as I kept plowing away, my vibrations changed, and so did what food that I resonated with changed. I continued to not have solid food, and I slowly changed myself, changed my vibration, changed my frequency. I was not attracted to the same foods that I was drawn to earlier. So I'll give you guys an example. A year into this path, I remember I went to Thailand. Now, Thai food was my absolute favorite food in this whole wide world. So I was so excited about going to Thailand because I know they have tom yum soup and tom kha soup. And I was like, okay, I can have the liquids they have there. And so I enjoyed all of the stuff that they had there in Thailand. Then a year later, I went back to Thailand and I was looking forward to all the stuff I did the year before. I was in Thailand for a month. And believe it or not, during that month, I had no Thai food. I did not feel the need to have Thai food. As time passed, I gave up coffee, tea, garlic, onion. I also did not resonate with peanut butter any longer. It's a good thing that I allowed myself to get grounded with ground nuts. Otherwise, I would not have given myself a chance to continue on this path. Again, I say it's all about evolution and not revolution. And when none of those 5 things worked for me, I would put food in my mouth, chew it, and spit it out. So those are 6 things I did to help me stay on this path and deal with my addiction and my obsession that I had with food. Being on this path is like telling an alcoholic that you can only have 1 drink a day. They'll not be able to do that. You have to go to the underlying issue of what caused this person to become an alcoholic. Even if they give up alcohol, they'll find another addiction. Apparently, they have a term for this. It's called dry drunk. As you can see, it takes a lot of soul searching to continue on this path. Okay, number 3, you guys can still hear me. The third thing I want to share with you guys is I went on a 7-day dry fasting retreat about 2 years into my breatharian journey. And again, I was very anxious about going. Some part of me did not know if I was going to make it back alive. Not only did I make it back alive, but a big block in me got cleared and I became more alive. Not only, in essence, I gained food freedom. Let me explain what that means, food freedom. For example, let me explain. Because of the way I was raised, I did not want to step foot into the kitchen. Therefore, I would always get out of, never go into the kitchen, never cook, always went out to eat, ate processed food. This was before my breatharian journey. So I had an issue with the kitchen and cooking and all that. So I had a terrible block to cooking that I would never cook. And something happened in the 7-day dry retreat. And after the retreat, guess what? I only wanted to cook. I went to a friend's house for a couple of weeks after my dry fasting retreat, and all I kept doing while there was cooking for the entire family. It just gave me so much joy. I found myself looking up recipes and planning the menu. I was on a roll, absolutely enjoying myself. My friend, who had known me for years, was shocked. He's like, "What have you been doing? Have you been taking cooking classes?" He did not know that I went on the retreat. But he did know that I had a block and could not understand what was happening. The irony of the story is that when I was an eating person, I would not cook. Now that I don't eat, I love to cook. I cook for friends and family all the time. This is an example of a mental block being cleared as I stayed on the Pranic breatharian path. It's funny. After my first breatharian retreat, I felt so bad for people that had to go back home and cook for their families. I told myself if I had to go home and cook and surround myself with food, I wouldn't be able to sustain this path. I basically avoided food at all costs. That was initially. I would not want to be around people that were eating because a part of me felt deprived. As time passed, I gained food freedom, freedom from the anxiety of cooking, freedom from the fear of being around people eating, freedom from most things related to food. Number 5 thing I wanted to share is that less than a year ago, I started urine therapy. Of course, I had found out about a urine therapy right into my path, but for some reason, I was so grossed out about the whole thing that I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do that. But I started urine therapy on November 11, 2022, less than a year ago. Urine therapy, I have learned, is your body's own personal medicine tailored to you. It rebalances you in a way that you need. It is hydrating, it is satiating, it is structured water. It kills parasites in your body. Urine is a hunger suppressant. It has vitamins and minerals. So let me give you an example of how urine therapy has helped me. One day I was sitting outside in the backyard and it was pollen season. There was pollen everywhere. And it was almost like snowing pollen. And I was sitting outside and I thought, I'm doing okay. But then before long, I started sneezing and my nose started running. My eyes were itchy. So then I went inside and I had a little bit of my urine. And a few minutes later, it was all gone. Like I didn't even have allergies. So that's an example of urine being your perfect medicine. And the last thing I want to share with you guys is about relationships. Relationships, when it comes to family, can be the most difficult. There were relationships with family that needed to be healed. Nobody can trigger us more than family members because we have so much history with them. I thought there was no way that these relationships could ever improve. People are as they are, and they're not going to change, is what I thought. However, when I started changing, my relationships also started changing. The recipe I used to heal my relationship with family was to approach everything with heaps of love, kindness, compassion, and empathy. And I started to have a higher aerial view, perspective of everything. This is the change that I made. And miraculously, the others also changed. I am at a place where I can't believe my own eyes when I see my relationship. Once they were so strained, and now they are so loving. It reminds me of a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. Our greatest ability as humans is not to change the world, but to change ourselves. And also by Michael Jackson. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. When you heal yourself, you heal generations and break the cycle. I also put intentions into the universe. Somehow the universe makes it happen. These things are possible because I have cleared out many physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual blocks that I've had. I abstained from having physical, solid food, and my body did the rest. The fastest way for transformational growth is the breatharian path. There is no quicker way to change your life than being on the breatharian path. It is like going warp speed towards your authentic self. The breatharian path has been transformative journey of self-discovery, healing, personal growth. I've learned the key to success on this path is evolution rather than revolution. Everyone's experience will be unique, but I hope sharing my story will inspire others to find their way on this path of self-discovery and transformation. And I want to thank everyone for allowing me to share my journey with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rakhi, for this beautiful and inspiring talk, for sharing your journey so openly. And I want to know if there's any questions from the audience here.
Thank you, Rakhi, for sharing. And my question is, what was the main motivation for you to do this, to be still on this way?
The question, you're saying, what was the reason why I wanted to be on the breatharian path? I have always been, I thought, very health conscious and wanted to always, eat healthy and be health conscious, even though I would eat out and stuff, but I always wanted to be health conscious, and I just saw, that our food was like, GMO and there's like so many things like pesticides in our food and all that. And then I heard a speech of somebody, of people living this lifestyle. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to live without food? And so that's what started. I saw a video and I was just hooked after that. Yeah. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Rakhi. There's more questions, of course. So let's just take a few more from the audience. And I want to say that there was a comment online saying, thank you so much. That inspired me a great deal.
Thank you, Rakhi, for sharing. I didn't hear when you said on your first tips, you said you had a game changer. You took like something oxide, like MMA,
Chlorine dioxide,
chlorine.
also known as MMS.
Okay.
If you're interested, there is some information online. Before, there used to be a lot more.
And okay, thank you. And also, I wanted you to share a bit more about why doing 1 day a week air feasting was also a game changer for you. Thank you.
So I would do air feasting once a week, and once a quarter, I would do a 3.5 day air feasting. And the reason for that is to keep I give an analogy. If you want to be a runner, you have to keep practicing. Runners just keep practicing, right? So if you want to be a breatharian, you have to keep practicing. So this is my keep practicing.
We have another question here, and then I'll come to the one over there.
Hey, Rakhi, thank you. I wanted to ask you how your other relationships changed, and if you like changed your friend circle also, or if it stayed with you, how did your relationship change?
Good question. I didn't touch upon the friendship circle. I focused more on the family angle, but yes, friends also change because as you change, either the friends will drop away and then so people starting off in this path, if you feel that your friends are going to drop away and there's a way that you might get scared that I'll lose my friends, don't worry because you're going to attract friends that are going to be more like-minded to you. So there's, yeah. So friends will fall away and new friends will come that will resonate with you more. Yeah.
Thank you, Rocky. We have another question here.
Okay, I have a little question. When you cook, do you taste the food and maybe spit it out after or something?
Good question. When I cook, well, I only cook things that don't have onion, garlic, and there are like have no animal products in it. I mean, that's what I would cook. And if I taste it, I would taste it. Like if it's a sauce, I'll taste it to see it. And if it's I won't actually put the solid in my mouth. I'll just taste the liquid.
Great question. I'm sure other people had this question in their heads too. We have another question here, and it's going to be interpreted from Italian.
Grazie Rakhi per la tua simpatia. Grazie Rakhi per la tua simpatia. Vorrei chiedere quanto tempo ci è voluto perché si stabilizzasse il tuo peso?
I would like to ask you how much time it took for your weight to stabilize.
About a year.
I'll just add to that question. Did your weight stabilize at a lower level, or did your weight go back to its original level, or did you find a new body mass?
Great question. So I was here when I started, say. And then when I went on the path, I went all the way down here. And then when I continued on, I went in between. So not to the original and not to where I was.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's very clear. And another question here.
Thank you so much. I love your sharing.
Thank you.
Regarding urine therapy, is there any problem holding the weight, not losing too much weight for you?
Is there a problem with what?
Keeping the weight.
Keeping the weight?
Yeah.
Like, am I having an issue with losing weight rapidly?
He's asking specifically about urine therapy. Did that cause weight loss?
No.
We have another question from our live audience, and then some are stacking in the online questions, so we'll transfer to there.
Thank you, Rakhi. Sorry, it's two quick questions. First one, your first year of on this journey, did you work like usual? How was your lifestyle during that time as you were stabilizing yourself? Second question, when you were trying to stabilize your weight, how did you feel energetically?
To answer your first question, I never had an energy issue. Like I was always energetic. To answer your second question, I've been fortunate that I didn't actually have to work. So I could focus on the path. I can't imagine actually just for starting off going to work and it would be very difficult. So I was lucky that I didn't have to do that.
So a question from our online audience. One would like to know, can you tell us how your sleep quality changed on your breatharian path?
Before my breatharian path, I used to have a lot of insomnia, like I couldn't sleep. And then when I started on my breatharian path, I didn't have insomnia, but I would sleep very little. It's almost like I had insomnia, but I was getting enough sleep. So I sleep between 4 to 6 hours. 6 hours would be the outer edge, but I can survive like on 3 hours, so it varies. And it's when I'm on my own, like I can get up and do things, but it becomes a problem when you're like, like traveling and you're sharing a room, then you feel like I'm up at 3 in the morning. Now what do I do? Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Rakhi. So another online question is, what liquids are you consuming? Is it juice, fruit juices, vegetable juices, water? What are you drinking?
Well, I'm having water. I'm having urine. I'm having sometimes juices and nut milk mainly. And of course, when I visit my mom, she wants to make all kinds of soups for me because she just can't understand what I'm doing. So,
I have a feeling that the mother archetype is going to shift on the planet with this consciousness. Sorry, that's my little input. So there's another question online, and then we'll go back if there's other questions from our audience here. Someone wants to know if your sport is better now with no food, or was it better before?
if my sport,
Yeah, your activity, you were talking about running.
definitely better now. Yes.
Well, simple answer. So
There's
we
a
have more
question back there.
questions. Great.
Along the line of the mother paradigm, you mentioned that your son was 3. I believe you said the son 3 when you started on this path.
No, he was actually a teenager.
Oh,
But he
okay.
was very concerned and worried about me. So he's like, Mommy, don't go to these things. Don't go. And he said, but if you get hungry or thirsty, just eat. And I also was scared. So I think he was seeing my, and he was reflecting that back to me.
I see. I was thinking you probably got a lot of flack if you had a small child and you were on this path, how that would, but
Right.
I misunderstood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Do we have any other questions from our live audience here? Yeah, there's a few. Okay. So we'll go an arc like this.
Thank you for the talk. You had this statement that the Pranic path is the fastest path to transformation. Is this correct? And I find this statement to be quite strong. And I've heard it from, the guru path is the fastest path, and some meditation path is the fastest path. So I'm wondering where you're coming from when you make that statement.
Because the pranic path, not only are you changing your diet, but you're doing the meditation, you're doing all of that. So that is all inclusive. So so basically when you change your diet, you unblock a lot of blocks. It's because before the pranic bath, I was doing meditation, I was doing yoga, I was doing all that, but it didn't change it. So it's from my personal experience, it didn't change my life and transform it the way a breatharian path has. I mean, it's just changed my life. People from my past don't recognize me any longer. Like if I was doing meditation or yoga, I'm still the same person in a way. But anyways, that's my personal, yeah.
Great. We have another question here.
Hi, what do you have against onions and garlic? You mentioned multiple times that you don't eat those. Why?
Well, I used to have onion and garlic, and I just go based on how my body feels. And then when I had onion and garlic, it made my brain a little frazzled. And I felt like that's not really conducive for this lifestyle. Like if I wanted to meditate and get deeper into it, it just frazzled my brain a bit. So that's why. Yeah. And a lot of religions also abstain from onion and garlic. Like in India, the Jain community, they also abstain from onion and garlic. And like, there must be a reason. For my reason was because it interfered with my concentration. It's kind of made me a little, yeah.
We have another question here.
Thank you. Brilliant talk. I was interested, you were saying that your weight went down, and then it built up again as you exercise, and you actually built up muscle once more. And I was just wondering, was there anything that you did that helped muscle development at that stage?
That's a very good question. So when I first started on the path, what happened was I would baby myself a lot, and I would say, "Oh, you're not eating, so you can't work out." Right? So when I kept doing that, what happened was I lost my muscle. And so I was skin and bone. So I told myself I'm going to start working out. So then I started working out. I gained my muscle back. And so that's what happened. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah. Okay.
Oh, it's another question related to the last question. In this period of weight stabilization, did you like drink more juices or more denser liquid, or you just kept like that and the weight stabilized itself without?
Yeah. I didn't do, I just continued as I was. And I don't know what happened, but I was even consuming less than what I was consuming when my weight became when I became skin and bones. And I was actually, had gained weight. So it was, I thought it was weird, like what's happening. So yeah, it did. I was in the beginning, it just kept dropping. And I don't know. I mean, I was consuming a lot in the beginning, yeah.
I have another question, which is, what would you say to someone who heard your description of your path and said, that sounds like an eating disorder? Throwing out the big questions here.
That's a great question.
What would your response be?
The response would be that an eating disorder would be that you're depriving your body of the nutrients, like a anorexic would be depriving themselves of it. But I am not depriving myself of it. I'm actually, being nourished by prana, or I'm being nourished by the little physical stuff that I do have. So I'm not in lack. I'm in abundance all the time. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful answer. Do we have any more questions from our live audience for our last few minutes here? Yeah.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you.
Did your psychic abilities got more advanced?
Good question. I didn't touch upon that very much because that is an evolutionary process still. When I came on this path, I had no psychic ability. I had no, I was just kind of really didn't know about spirituality, nothing. And as I continue on this path, yeah, my third eye has opened. I'm beginning to, have more intuition, and a lot of weird things have happened to me, energy coming into my body, making changes and shifts in my body, and like taking control over my body. Like I was just an observer observing what's happening to my body. A lot of weird things have happened like that. And so it's opened my eyes to what else is out there. So yeah, thank you so much. But it is. And I look forward to more of that happening as I continue on this path. Thank you.
Thank you. I would encourage those of you who are curious about that question to watch her video from last year. There's a couple more questions from online. Someone wants to know specifically the amount of calories you consume each day with your liquids.
About 400 calories on average, I would say.
And do you think it's possible to be living a pranic lifestyle and have a common work life, home life?
To have a common work home life?
Kind of a typical home life, going to work, having a family.
I think so, but I think in the beginning you need to kind of stabilize. I think if I were to do it now, I could do it now. But I think in the beginning, it could be really difficult, especially when your body is detoxing and you're going through all the detoxing symptoms. And then you're also going through this food addiction and then the mental obsession with food. I mean, it could be overwhelming. So I would say that people starting on would just kind of take it easy. And MMS helps. So, yeah.
Fantastic. So I think we're going to wrap up our presentation now. We have one last question from online, which is a very sweet question. And they said, when you said there's different kinds of air when you go on your air feasting days, do you have a favorite air quality that you like?
The morning air.
The morning
It's
air.
nice and crisp.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
Like an
Rakhi.
apple.
Thank you so much, Rakhi.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for enjoying the presentation.